Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the BigMx Radio podcast. This episode is brought to you by Moose Off-Road. And who better to break down the 250 West than a guy who spends his time out in the GNCC world, anything dirt bikes. If there's two wheels, knobby tires, and dirt involved, Kyle Wolfe will be there. Kyle, welcome back to the podcast.
Good to be back, man. Yep, it's off road. Hey, I got a rep for FXR though, unfortunately to kill
It's
your
all good.
plug,
It's all
but
good. Hey, yeah,
yep,
like
I'm ready
no,
for the
no
off road
free
season to
ads, but
start.
we do like our friends like that the manufacturing facility and the headquarters for that company are 15 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. I got lots of time and I got lots of love for Milt Reimer and everybody over at FXR, especially Andy White and yeah, like Brad, all those guys over there. Carson Soviak, I've known him for years. Great people over there at FXR. And yeah, both companies, both Moose and FXR have sort of cashed in or basically like they've recognized how many people love to just ride their dirt bike. They don't necessarily need to do it on a track. And seat time is maybe what they prioritize over more than anything. And that's what takes them out to events like the ones you cover at GNCC.
Oh, absolutely. And more guys, despite the economic situation that we're in, they're still getting out and riding and enjoying being on the bike, and that's why we all started riding motorcycles in the first place because it's fun, and that's what all these companies are about, keeping the fun going.
That's right. Absolutely. Smiles on faces in one of the most family-friendly sports you can imagine, as long as you have deeper pockets than an Olympic swimming pool. All right.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, Kyle, when it comes to the 450 class, we were early. We were so early that we ended up having actually to re-record a portion of the tail end of that podcast that you and I did a week or two ago. Because in the time that I was dragging my feet to actually post it, because I was worried about an injury and I was worried about like just kind of posting it a little bit too far out from the series starting. But we did have an injury, and we had and it affected my title pick. Of course, Jet Lawrence is out. But this podcast, we're talking 250 West. We're recording it 4 days before the event, so most of these guys don't have a lot of opportunity to hurt themselves between now and Saturday.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anybody getting hurt, knock on wood. Hopefully we, you know, can avoid that in the
Yes.
next few days because there are some guys on this list that, whether it's before the season or in more often cases than not during the season, they do end up getting hurt. And I really hope that they can go through the entire season, at least get through Supercross without having an injury. Since, like I said, some of these guys are more bitten by that bug than not. But yeah, I'm ready for the 250 class, and it's gonna be a good one. I think everyone has their two, maybe three favorites, but I think there's gonna be a lot of guys that are gonna mix it up for some top fives this year.
Oh yeah. No, it is always fun to watch the 250 class. You've got young emerging stars, you've got guys that have been in the class forever. You've got sometimes you've absolute lightning rods who like to hang out with Jake Paul. We're gonna get through all of that. But before we get to it, 250 East, I'll be watching, or 250 West, I'll be watching the 250 West. I would imagine sometimes the 450 guys happen to watch the main event while they're on the line. Do you think that the guys on the 250 East are watching this series?
Oh, they absolutely are. For nothing else other than they're racers. They want to
Hmm.
watch racing just like the rest of us do.
Okay.
But they're also looking to see, all right, what is this guy doing? What can I learn from this guy that's, winning these races and so forth that I can apply here in the next 6 weeks for when my season starts. But then also thinking more long term, how can I apply this in the outdoors and give the outdoor title of the motocross title a run? Because not to be jumping off page here, but once we get into 250 outdoors this summer, there's going to be a new champion in that class. But
Yeah.
once we, for the time being, for the next 4 months, we're going to have some guys really studying the 250 West and vice versa. The West guys are going to study the 250 East once that series starts to be looking to see, like, all right, what can I learn here to apply towards my riding?
Absolutely. And I guess with Deegs racing west and Vialle over in Europe, we will have 250 champions brand new on both sides. No returning champion, no defending champion on either side. I'm still of the mind that when it comes to like last year when there was an East-West shootout, even though RJ Hampshire was racing the opposite coast, I think he should have been allowed to wear his 1W.
Yeah, I've gone
Why
back and
not?
forth
Who gives a
internally.
shit? We do all kinds of other
Right.
stupid shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
Yeah.
we have the SMX Next kids running around with purple numbers, and we're gonna be like, nah, we don't want more number ones on the track. What?
Yeah.
That makes no
I
sense.
I wish we would go back as far as like I get why it's changed to what it is now as far as like three East West races. I wish we would go back and just do the one at the finale and
Well, they used to
make
do
that.
more. They used to do more.
I remember back in the mid 90s it was we and
They'd
even in
probably
the
do
early
four or
90s
five.
I don't think it would ever got to 4 or 5. I definitely remember three. I know
Hmm.
there was three back in like the early and mid 90s. I don't know if we ever
Yeah.
really did any more than that, but
Technically, Carmichael's first race was like an 11th. Like he's at that Coliseum race in '97
7. So
when
was it
Brian
well,
Deegan
and
won.
that wasn't even a it wasn't an East West race, but you remember
Yeah,
if you didn't declare the
that's
coast that was
right.
racing, you just didn't get points
Yeah. So you could
because
just
that was when
race.
before that 125 main gate drop, there was some trickery going on there between he and Pingree
Hmm.
when Carmichael wasn't racing West Coast and Pingree was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, didn't they like swap gate picks or
They
something?
swapped gate picks to give Pingree the inside gate while
Yeah.
because Ricky had the better gate pick because of his heat race
Right, yeah,
and
because
Pingree
he's good.
didn't. Yeah.
Wild. But yeah, like so that got me thinking is whether or not the 250 East athletes do watch the 250 West. You already confirmed with me, and I agree that we think they do. But that also got me thinking, do those guys gamble on these races? I know I would. Like, are they allowed to gamble on it? If they're not allowed to
No,
gamble on it, like
they're
if
not
I,
because anybody with one of those hard cards,
hmm,
they've got it. There's a course they have to go through,
yeah,
an anti-gambling or an antitrust, whatever they want to call it,
hmm,
course basically, and watch all these videos that says, "Hey, I'm not gonna gamble on these races while I'm basically, a member of this league."
okay. So, how sophisticated do we think the program is that polices that?
Well, any betting website takes, if you're gambling money and you're receiving money, they take your social security number. And I think that's the hardest. I think
Oh,
that's the one thing that you can't BS
yeah,
to
because you can get a new
gamble at
email
all
address.
online. You can do
You
the
can
email
just,
address, you can fake your physical address,
yeah.
for that purposes, but you got to do the driver ID verification, you got to do the social
Hmm.
security number verification because that's all because down here that's all taxed.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's not taxed here,
Yeah,
so
so for
none of
tax
that.
purposes, you got to provide your
Right.
social security
Okay.
number and you can't fake that. Now, not to give anybody any ideas, but I mean they could obviously have their buddies who have no stake in the race whatsoever place bets
Oh
for them.
yeah. That
And I mean
and like that's
this
essentially
isn't the
how it happens
NFL and
in real sports where like NBA guys be like, "Yay, I'm not putting up 10 points tonight." And like guy
right,
just like bricks a
exactly.
bunch of free throws.
Yeah, exactly. I mean
Yeah.
there's ways around everything, but yeah, directly doing it, yeah, you can't. These guys, anybody with a hard card, any rider, team personnel, the track
Hmm.
crew, even a guest. I mean, myself, I get a hard card every year through Supercross. I had to do that course last year. I'll have to do it again this year when I get my hard card. But yeah, anybody with a credential in any way, shape, or form, not allowed to gamble on Supercross and motocross.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like obviously if you're in the know, you want to make it as those gambling situations for those who do like to sports gamble, of which I am one of them, an opportunity to fairly win some cold hard cash. They don't have, I don't think there's a Canadian site that has moto on it. I've looked, like most of the sites, the offshore ones, are like kind of blocked to like Canadian IP addresses. So I haven't really looked that into it, but, guaranteed for the first round of 250, Supercross, there's probably some money to be made because, the odds would just be like, how do you even fucking guess?
I mean, I think the starting point would have to be what's the line on Deegan not winning the main event on Saturday
Yes.
night? That'd be the first starting point, I would think, to to figure out the odds on
Yeah.
everything for that 250 West class and it just go from there. But I mean, I think, I saw some of the betting websites and just what the lines were, and they were really simple, nothing real difficult. I think there needs to be more options to place bets on other riders and other positions, and maybe in the future as this grows, we'll get that. But the simple odds and the simple bets just kind of take the fun out of it. It's like, well, that's obvious. It's either going to be he's either going to win. This guy's either going to win the race or he's not going to win the race. This guy's either going to beat this guy or he doesn't. So it just kind of takes the extra edge and the excitement out of placing any kind of the bets when it's just the obvious stuff that
Uh,
stuff that we talk about every week, whether it's in person or on these shows. It's the obvious betting lines for last year anyway.
yeah. So, most guys would just be betting on the front runners anyway. But before we get to, some of your title favorites, some guys who, really, are who sell the tickets as far as for the 250 class, and there are some 250 athletes, certainly that are worth the price of admission when they do show up on the weekend. But let's talk about some of the guys who are sort of hopeful, or some of the guys that might be on a program that, might not be as rock solid as, the stadium itself, that which we'll be racing this weekend at Anaheim Stadium. Beautiful place. I've had, the opportunity of being at, believe it was 11 Supercrosses total. Back when I had the privilege of getting a hard card for Supercross. I can only get, for some reason, can only get, outdoor nationals and Loretta's, but, we're not going to get into that. But yeah, Dominic Thury, first guy that kind of jumps off the page. I was looking at the pre-entry list. Um, and the thing is that I think I'm remembering the Dominic Thury of like 2018. Like, that's a long time ago, Dominic.
Does it go
And
back that far with him? Does it go back to all the way to 18, or does it only go back to like 2021 maybe?
no, I think he's pre-COVID, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't remember. Man, we've watched so many races over the years and watched these guys for so
Yeah.
long. They all kind of run together. So you might be right. I have no idea.
But like, I think he had some good rides, but like he was on that, Heartbeat Hot Sauce team, the solitaire team, and he
Oh, that's
hasn't
right. He
had
was.
that. That was the best support he's had since
Right.
coming over, and that's when he put in his best rides. But it's not hasn't been that good since. So like, he was on Yamahas. He has some Weber really weird looking gear. It might be canvas. I don't really know. But he can make mains if some guys get hurt. That's what I was trying to say, I guess.
He can make mains. And the thing that a lot of people forget about Nick Thury is, he's right around Kenny's age. He's German. He grew up racing against
Yes.
Kenny on mini bikes and stuff, but he didn't come over here until the last handful or so a year. So his supercross prep essentially is not at the same level as the guys that he's racing with. Despite that he's been racing longer than a lot of these guys, but his availability and his opportunity to ride supercross for a while just wasn't there like it has been with some of these other guys. But yeah, to your point, he's made mains. He's always usually in that on the back end of that cusp of the heat races,
Oh
or
yeah.
he puts it in through the LCQ.
He's usually
But
a good
yeah,
LCQ guy though. Like, I
oh
usually
yeah,
like
absolutely.
first lap you see him like sixth, seventh ish. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what his off season looked like, but if he, he didn't ride outdoors this year.
He's got a
I don't
good looking
think.
chick.
Yeah, well, she's American, but Yeah, I mean, if he had a healthy off season, I mean, if he could put it into the main straight out of the heat races at every round, that'd be good for him. If he could squeak a top 10 in there, that'd be awesome. I don't think he's had a top 10, or at least yeah, if he's had a top 10 before, it's been one, maybe two of them. But yeah, I'd say that's probably the ceiling for him if I had to guess, just based off the list that we have. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
I like
30's
watching him ride. I think he's a good dude.
he is
I like
absolutely
supporting
is a
him.
good dude. He
Yeah.
is dating JC Hanlon. And yeah, his wife is an absolute like certified rocket. And they got married this last month and on the 16th of December. So
Oh,
congratulations to those
congrats to
newlyweds.
them. They're
Yeah,
not even a month
and
in yet.
not even a month in. Yeah, they'll be a few days shy of that when he's racing Anaheim 1. But yeah, like you can't
Now
say
the
anything mean about Dominic Thury because his life is better than yours, is what I guess I'm trying to
exactly.
say. Yeah, no, straight up. No, I have nothing but good things to say about Dominic Thury. I wish him the best. I don't know the stability of the current program he's on, but it looks like I'll put it to you this way: it looks like he's the one calling the shots.
Right.
The next one on my list is Vincent Varola, which I assume, like, do you think that like Slade is a middle name,
I
or
would have to think.
that's the first thing that I thought of? But go with me on this. What if one day he just showed up at the track and like you know how like JJ McCarthy like he becomes nine, like he's number nine, he becomes nine when he's throwing interceptions for the Vikings. um did one day Vincent show up to the track and his dad's like, all right, let's go, get the motos done, and he's like, today I'm Slade, and he's gone forward with that.
I don't know, because I mean, that's, you know, him
He's on
having the first name
Cowies.
Slade dates all the way back. It's when I started first hearing his name, dates all the way back to like 85s, probably 65s, I think, when I first started hearing his
Okay,
name.
has he always been a
Um,
Cowie kid?
no, I think he was on KTM's when he was on mini bikes
ATMs.
and stuff.
Yeah, that is the bike to be on.
I think he might have even been on Suzuki's when he was on 85s. I'm probably wrong about that,
That's
just
way
given
back.
Suzuki's history. Yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, no, I wish that kid could figure out a little bit more with his program. Just, I thought, a couple of years ago, given the people that he was around, I thought he would have been putting in a little bit better results than what he was. And so I'm hoping that after, this is his third or fourth year now racing Supercross. Maybe he's figuring something out where he can consistently put it into the mains. Because I mean, the last 2 years, it's either he's in or he's not, and I think it's more often, he's not making it in than he is. But I think the kid's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he just needs to figure out how to put the pieces together to consistently get it into that main event.
Yeah, no, I think he's gonna need a little bit of help from his friends, as far as maybe some injuries or a fortunate happenings in the LCQs. As soon as I think of whenever I think of 250 Supercross, I immediately think of like the first two or three LCQs of the year that are an absolute calamity. Like just a comedy of errors, guys taking themselves out, guys taking out others when they're taking themselves out.
Well, back to the
um,
gambling aspect, if we could place bets on the 250
oh
LCQ, there'd be money won and lost all over the place.
yeah, no, I'd be up. So I'd be retiring at one point during that 6 lap moto, and I would be bankrupt by the end of it,
Exactly.
more than likely. Yeah, it's just such a beautiful fluctuation. Like sometimes when you see like the timing and scoring go all crazy, you're like, is that because it's the 250 LCQ or is it glitching? Because it could be both.
Yeah,
Um,
not to veer off topic. I don't understand how that
Go for it.
system glitches as much as it does lately. It's like the last 2 years. I don't get it.
No, I know they just put it into like the results randomator and like out of nowhere, like Rod Bell's leading the 450 class, and you're like, sick. I don't
Right.
even think he's racing in that class today, but okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we'll get to him later. I think he's going to be dope this year.
Yeah.
Um, let's breeze through some Canadians if you don't mind.
Nope.
Let's get north of the border for a three pack of guys, two of which I believe all three are from the West Coast. Preston Masiangelo, which I believe still runs the number 800, which is a diabolical decision to make after Mike Alessi did what he did to that number, which was make it iconic at getting unstoppable hole shots. But yeah, like I think he seems to be more of a supercross guy. Like, have you come across Preston Masiangelo whatsoever in your travels?
I have. I first met him doing a video with Whitesco Pistons back
Okay.
in 2017, like at Mini O's, and it was with the Suzuki amateur team, and Preston was on that team, racing 85s, like in the 9 to 11 class or something. And that's when I
You and the
first met
Suzuki
him. And
125s, that's like six times as today already.
well, but I mean, when I did that video, we're
I
10
know, I'm
years
just
past
saying.
the Suzuki 125s being
Yeah.
gone.
Like
No, I
it's
like
not just Chase
Preston.
Brennan,
Yeah. Oh no. I
Casey
mean,
Brennan.
Suzuki's stepping up their amateur program this year, and I think Chase is on that
Oh,
program.
nice.
There's a couple of A guys. I'm losing their names right now, but no. Back to Preston. I like the kid. I thought he'd have a little bit higher profile career than what he's had. I think injury play has played a lot in that, but no, I always root for him. I think he's a great kid. I love talking with him, his dad, when I see them at the races. Not that I've seen him much in the last few years, but no, I always root for Preston anytime he's on the racetrack. He's always been such a good kid, real nice. And I know he puts the work in, whether it's the right work or whatever is another story. But I know he tries, and I know he wants to be there. But
Yeah.
no, as far as him racing 250 West, I think he got he raced the full series last year, made one or two mains, and he got a full he got a hell of an eye opener to what it really takes to actually make the mains in Supercross. So if he was healthy all off season, I think he'll come in with a different outlook and more prepared, and definitely a more clear mental picture of what he needs to do. And I think he'll put it into the mains more consistently this year.
Yeah, no, I think he's a guy that if you are a betting man, that's a guy to keep on like keep an eye on whether or not he's having a good day or if the track seems to suit him in qualifying or something like that. Might be some easy money when it comes to Preston Masiangelo. Moving right along to another BC native, the Mission Missile, of course, and that's Mission BC, which stands for Bring Cash if you want to go to that province. I think he crashes a lot. Blake Davies is who we're talking about here. The Mission Missile, young guy, tons of talent. I think sometimes he's on the ground from what I've seen. Always looks good on the bike. I think he's a Troy Lee athlete, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and he very well could be the fastest Canadian 250 Supercross rider aside from Ryder McNabb. And I have no idea where Ryder McNabb is right now, but. Davies has potential. I don't know if you have any info on Davies, but
The only info you have more on him than I do, and the only info
which
that
is
I
not a
have on
lot.
him is just the video updates that I see during the Canadian Nationals in the
It's
summer, and I see where
fast.
yeah, he's fast. He's a little inconsistent when it comes to the
He's
starts.
long too, isn't he? Tall kid.
I think he's a taller kid.
Yeah, he's tall
Yeah.
kid.
And I
Is he
think
on
to
a
your
big
point, I
bike?
think he's been on the ground a bit, but I think he's hot and cold when it comes to the starts. I think I've seen
Yeah.
videos and on the updates where he's up there on the starts, and then I've seen where he's way in the back, or he's on the ground,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
As far I
Apparently he's
think
been doing some snow biking. That's his last six posts.
I would
So
love to do some snow biking.
I think you'd
I want
enjoy
to try
snow
that.
biking. That would be right up your alley. You're like
I thought I saw a thing as
Ohio
far as
slash dirt bikes.
I got one snow the second that I got back home at the
Hmm.
beginning of December, and that's all I saw.
There you go.
I thought I
There's
saw a thing
2 feet of it
on
outside.
McNabb. He's going to run the 450 class this summer up in Canada.
That would be for the best. I think honestly, if he has a full bill of health, He's a championship contender on a 450 Canada. Um, there's yeah, there's three of those guys. But yeah, Mission Missile, look out. Uh, Blake Davies, like get like line the fences. He's either going to be balls fast or have an amazing crash, perhaps both. But
It's the
I'm
250
looking
class,
forward
and
to
this is
seeing what
his
he can do
first.
because I think he can do some really good things.
Yeah, I mean it's the 250 class, and this is his first year racing Supercross, so it's probably a good bet that it's going to be both.
Yeah. Tyler Gibbs, also from either Alberta or BC. He's definitely from out west. Um, I think he has a full-time job. I don't know how loose or how tight that program is. But I did want to mention him because he's Canadian and I think it'd be rad if he does well. But it also might be a complete train wreck. I know he rode for, I think it was a Cowie team, or maybe it was that oh no, it's that Arena Cross team. Oh no, I don't think that went well. I don't want to talk about that. Um yeah, didn't go well. Ah. Anyway, but we can't get off talking about the Canadians without mentioning the absolute shenanigans that went on this weekend
Yeah,
involving
and
one of the Canadians that
and
might be
shenanigans
racing
is
this
putting it
weekend.
lightly.
Shenanigans is the only reason why that this isn't getting pulled down from YouTube, although I think you can say fuck on YouTube, so maybe I'll just go ahead and say it. It like that was fucking ridiculous between Cole Thompson and Ryan Brees. Like, first of all, you have the nuclear element, which is Ryan Brees, and then you just have uh this this individual in Cole Thompson who, when he puts on his helmet, is just an absolute maniac. He's a Tasmanian devil. He will saw off your front end just for fun. Um, he's done it in Canada. He's done it in the States. I think he did it in Australia. Um, like honestly, I got lots of time for Cole Thompson. He's fun gamer, good to go out for dinner with. His wife's a smoke show. Like Chloe Flake, awesome people. They hang out with Stu all the time. So if they're cool with Stu Baylor, like he can't be that bad of a dude, straight up. And yeah, the whole like the intensity in his eyes after that race, like he was making out with that camera that he was like just he was like spitting rhymes into it. It was bars. I don't even know what to say, but it was intense and I was here for it. What do you have to say about Cole Thompson? Because yeah, the guy's on one, or maybe he might be
Yeah, I've known Cole for a long time. I did a podcast with him way back in the day when he first turned pro
number
on a
16.
privateer Honda.
Yeah,
Um, well, it was 160 when he was doing Supercross
that's right.
on
But
a
he wore
Honda.
16 as an amateur. He
Yeah,
was like he battled with Savachi and those guys. I'm pretty
yeah, and he was
sure.
on when he was on
Nichols.
mini bikes, he was on that 150 Honda. Yeah,
That's
that's when I
right.
first saw him. Yeah, no, I like Cole. Um, I all I've ever gotten negative on behalf of him is just what everyone else has ever said. You know, primarily up in Canada, um, just racing the national series and stuff. Yeah, I saw you brought up the World Supercross series. He got into it one or two weekends
Yeah.
with Cullen. And if
Colin
I was
Park. Yeah. Also not someone I want to fight, by the way.
and if I wasn't friends with a lot of these guys, including both of those two, and if I was a bigger asshole than what I am, I would have started a group text just to stoke the fire. And I'm sure that would have fired back more negatively on me than it would have done anything to keep that whole thing going from that night. But yeah, as far as Loveland last weekend, I thought after a block pass, which
Bonkers.
I thought that was a clean block pass. I mean, I raced a ran across. That was a clean block pass. Was there contact? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't say there wasn't contact, but it wasn't dirty contact. But Ryan obviously didn't appreciate that at all, and he ran Cole damn near off the racetrack. And then
No, he used his motorcycle like a weapon.
and then the lapper messes up Ryan Cole gets
Yes.
to the inside of them. Neither one of them do the catapult. Wageman passes both of them on a BOGO special.
Points leader.
And then in the next 180, after the whoop section, Brees just saws the front end. And I've never talked to Ryan ever, so I can't speak to where he is mentally and what his attitude is. I half expected that whole thing to happen, but at the same time, I was like, okay, he hits you, you run him off the track, we're good. And that was the end of it. They never got close to each other again. So for him to go right in and not even attempt to make a pass and just clean them both out, I thought was a bit ill-advised, but I'm not the one in the helmet on either one of those two. So
Oh
it
yeah.
is what it
Honestly,
is.
with those two on any entry list, they're both liable to have the wires cross. They're both a guy that you could have a beer with or have like the chillest night. They're also the kind of guy that in a racing situation will do literally anything to win, and that creates what we got. So
Yeah, I mean,
I
like
don't
I'm
know if that
friends with
is to continue. So
well,
who
like, and I'm
knows?
friends with people that are friends with Ryan and friends with his wife, and they love Ryan, they love his wife, and I'm sure Ryan's a genuinely good dude. Was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't it like I don't know 3, 4, 5 years ago something? Was it Brees that completely clocked Entic Nap in an LCQ at like A2 or San
Yes.
Diego or something like that? Was that
Yeah, no,
Brees?
he ran him wide and nap into like a sort of like a it's not like a more than 90-degree corner into a set of whoops.
Right.
Deuce goes down, and then in the process of getting lapped, Brees endos over in a rhythm section, ends
Oh,
up
that's right.
throwing
I forgot about
away.
that part.
Yeah, no, it's even the better part. Like the better part about that is he throws away a
A
transfer position,
transfer.
and
Yeah.
then there was a set of whoops right before the finish line at that track, and he somehow got into fifth on the last lap. And Ryan Brees is like fourth gear, wide open, tapped, going through the whoops, trying to. I think he's trying to like he if he got there, he was gonna kill Joan Cross, and he gets into the
Oh,
first.
Cross. That's at the end of it. That's right.
Yeah, and he literally just piles himself into the ground and he just lays there for a while because he's like, yeah, my night's done. This didn't like this whole thing's gonna hurt and I have a parts bill.
The most exciting
Yeah,
6 laps of that season.
probably to be honest, yeah. And like who's like I love Ryan Brees, but like being like doing that to Deuce like I mean, Deuce would probably throw it back at you too, but I don't know. I like
I mean,
he's just like the
Adams,
lovable lummox of the 450 class.
he is, but Adams also a wide dude on a motorcycle.
Oh yeah,
Like
and in
he
general,
like his body type is like remember how Tyler Evans was back in the
yeah.
day. Like Tyler was a truck, and you
Oh
did not
yeah.
go anywhere near him.
Who do you
Like
think
and
weighs more, him or like who? Like yeah, who weighs more, Entiknap or Raper?
Anik Nap.
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean Raper was just kind of a more lanky type of
I
a
guess.
rider.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't. I've never. I
but
don't think I've
I
ever
mean
seen
Nap is just he's
Raper in
wide
street
shouldered,
clothes.
he's thick in the chest like that. Like he was just
Yeah.
a big dude.
Like if he ever wore a chest protector underneath his jersey, he looked like a middle linebacker.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he
Yeah.
probably played football back when he was younger.
Could have, yeah. Like
Wouldn't have surprised me.
I think he legitimately was a C class rider on a big bike, like no jokes. Um, much like Lux Turner, actually. We'll get to him in a few minutes here. But like, yeah, there's a good to fair chance that like at one point Antic Nap wasn't thinking about a professional motocross career and like was starting at like strong side outside linebacker
Oh yeah, probably.
for a high school team. I would
Yeah.
if you told me that, I would be not surprised. I'd also think he'd be good at it. But
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah. Arena cross, catch the fever. Um Next guy on my list is Jammin' Josh Fariz. Seems to be on the Grindstone Kawasaki team. All I know about that team is that they're on Cowies and they run 7 gear and they're like they always look sick. I don't think I've known that team to put in a good result yet, but they always look correct, and stands for something in my books.
Well, who Grindstone's a training facility, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I like the only other name that I can think of that's been on that team in the past couple of years is I think Max Sanford.
Yes. I've also seen
Yeah.
that. Well, I think Revin Gordon this is his second year with that team, and we'll talk about him next. But like it's clearly a program that's been around for a bit. They know what they're doing. Cowies are it's a good 250F. Um, but for you, what needs to happen in order for Josh Fariz, who's now he's running a three-digit number. This is the first time I believe during his professional career that he doesn't have a national number. It's a real reset year, and then also I think it's a big like kind of put up or shut up year for Jam and Josh Fariz. We're talking about a guy who was on that Orange Brigade team. He's been national number 38. He's been national number 42. He's been 67 as well, if I'm not mistaken, 76 as well, or 78 maybe.
78.
Um,
Yeah.
my like from my from what I know about the program, I think he's kind of bounced around a little bit with some teams either folding or not really being what he
Well,
signed up for.
I think a few years ago he had a fill-in ride with Rockstar Husky.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I think he
since
just
coming out of amateurs, like similar to a guy like Derek Drake, has never really had that solid footing underneath him.
yeah, and with a guy like Josh, I just don't know. Like, it always makes you wonder whether he didn't have the base established as far as his program and all that to have full focus on the riding aspect and clicking putting the pieces together to make a good run at making main events and getting up into
Hmm.
that top 10 conversation, top 5 conversation, or if it was the people around him. I mean, like we said, he had a fill-in ride at one point with Rockstar Husky, or they were at least helped him out with a bike. I think I don't know if I don't think
Yeah,
they put
I
him on a
want to
full
say this is
program, but
far
they
back
helped him
enough that he
out,
was riding like Mosman's bike or something,
something
or
like that.
Robertson.
So maybe Grindstone's the right thing for him. I mean, same with you. I don't know a whole lot about that program, who's running it, anything like that, but maybe this is the starting point that he needs to kind of be like, okay, the program's good. I don't have to think about anything else except riding the motorcycle, figure out my
Yeah.
training and all that stuff. And maybe, I mean, the only possible hindrance to that would be just Kawasaki itself, just because they're not the best
Yeah. He's not going to
250.
get a lot of great starts in the LCQs.
Right. So, but I don't know. I mean, he's always had such good style. I like watching him ride.
Yeah.
And
He's
he's
long.
yeah. And even when even before he had his one growth spurt, like he was just real loose on the bike.
Yeah.
Kind of threw it around a good bit, not as much as somebody like, Deegan, but he tossed it around a good bit,
Hmm.
but he took a lot of the he did grow up on a 125 and he took a lot of that, you know, you got to have momentum and all that stuff. And he carried that into a 250. And I think that's, what got him a lot of, as far as it did. But just as far as Supercross goes, I think he just needs that one little extra piece to get himself into a top 10 conversation again. Because I mean, he was there before, but yeah, we haven't seen him in a year or two.
Yeah, no, I think just a total mental, physical reset for a kid who literally his parents used to run the pro shop at Milestone. Like this kid is as SoCal moto as it gets. I believe if I'm not mistaken as well, he on Super Minis he podiumed that Monster Cup thing back in the day. So
Yeah,
this
that's
at
probably
one
right.
point
Yeah.
his star was burning very brightly. And I think there's still a little bit of that left in there. We'll see if it happens to come to fruition aboard a Grindstone Kawasaki. His teammate is Revin Gordon. I've had him on the podcast. Great kid. Him and his brother as well, of course. Landon Gordon, you'd be more familiar with him. That is the younger brother that has enjoyed a little bit more success on the amateur side of things. Of course, I'd say a little bit more. It is a lot more. But I assume that Grindstone sees like a potential in Revan. He's had some good rides in some of the SMX Next, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he has a number this year. but
I
like
don't think so.
he's number 124. Always looks good on the bike. He's fit. He's worked with Will Hahn and stuff like that in the back in the day. Yeah, like I got lots of time for Revan Gordon. I think later in the year, if he is able to like gain some confidence with qualifying and heat races, I could see him in the top 15 on a regular basis towards the end of the year.
Yeah, and I think towards the end of that, you hit on I think what his biggest problem is, and just confidence and just that inner belief. I just don't.
All-time bad body language guy though.
Yeah, he just like I've never been around the kid, so I've never
Hmm.
like I mean if he walked up to me right now, I wouldn't know it was him. But
Hmm.
just watching him ride, I mean the kid can ride. The kid's got good
Yeah.
style.
Great
He's
style.
smooth on the bike, but I think just his mental capacity is
I don't know
what's
if he's
holding
any good
him
in the
back.
whoops.
And there's always going to be guys like that. I mean I remember watching guys when I was a kid racing 125s and stuff that were just as fast, if not faster, than the guys winning the races, but they were a mental case. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that's necessarily the entire reason or the biggest crutch that Revan has, but I think that plays a key part of it. Just and I gotta think just mentally, and maybe I'm wrong, but just when your younger brother is getting all the support, all the
Yeah.
rides, all the notoriety,
He's
everything. I
off in
mean,
Florida and you're back home.
right, and he's got an amateur deal on the best 250 team in the paddock right now, and it's just that's gotta be a little bit mentally. But I mean, we've seen that 1,000 times over the years. The younger brother's faster than the older brother.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, that was kind of the case with me and my brother. Not necessarily faster, but he adapted to stuff quicker than I did.
Hmm.
When we were on 50s and 65s and stuff. But yeah, I think just him, and I could be completely wrong in how I've looked at him and my analysis on him. But if I'm right, just as far as the mental side of things, I think if he could figure out how to just block everything out and just race the track, yeah, I think he could be a top 15 kid. Get a good start in the heat race. Put yourself in a position, even if you don't make it out of the heat race, get yourself a third, fourth, fifth place gate pick for the LCQ. Get yourself lined up on the inside, and then pull the start and get yourself into that main event. I think he made a main last year. I
I believe
I
so.
think he made one. But yeah, just block out everything, and that's the toughest part of this sport is just the mental side of things. You can have all the right training, the right bike, the right everything, but if you're mentally not there, it's never going to work for you.
Yeah, no, it's an uphill battle if you can't quite get the between the ears figured out. And hey, there's some guys at the top step of the podium that at times can falter for that exact reason. Couple other guys that I want to make of note. Hunter Schlosser, just because he's a fun name to say. Looking at his Instagram, looks like he's going to be doing some extreme arena cross training. So he's making his impact on and off the track. That's good to see from Hunter Schlosser. They like guy's been around forever. I think he's good at buddies with Lane Shaw. That's all I know about the guy.
I'm interested to see how he does on a 250 because we've seen him on a 450,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's interesting to just see him go back to a 250. Not sure what the justification was for that, but yeah, I think he's a good rider. He's put it in the mains in the 250 class and the 450 class. But yeah, just him being a privateer back in that 250 class is where um it kind of confuses me a bit, but no, I like the kid. I hope for good things out of him. Just he puts in the work. He just never has the right program. That not the complete program to get him to that next step.
Completely off topic, but did you see that like I think during the Supercross media things, like Chase Sexton clearly had like some sort of like bleach blonde hair going on or maybe like frosted tips sort of thing.
Yeah, I
But
saw
it
that he went back to full blonde with the hair.
but it
Yeah.
looks like he looks like he's full gray. Like I'm looking at a thumbnail for a Supercross Fantasy League punishment something or other, and it looks like this it looks like he's 77 years old. He is
I don't know.
salt and pepper. Someone needs like that is not a great look rolling into 2026 if you're Chase Sexton. Like I'm upset. If I'm seeing those photos, I'm upset that those are out there. Um, but all right, let's get into a guy who please don't clip that SMX com. My God. Um, let's talk about Crockett Myers because this dude's fast and he's buddies with fast guys. So that's an extra like little feather in your cap, if you will. He's on Suzuki's. That doesn't help. I noticed that he's wearing 110 racing gear, which means I think that's their first full time in Supercross, aside
Or
from Kevin Moran's.
probably.
I think so. I think Moran's is wearing their gear too.
I
Gear,
think the
like
I
I
think
don't
the
know
whole
that gear came out like what 10 years ago, and like I
I don't
know
think it's been
nothing
that
about that
long.
company, but
They're
maybe
based out of
5 years ago.
Florida.
Okay,
Yeah, they're based out of Florida. Yeah.
amateurs run it like crazy.
Well, I think they've got the whole Dirt Bike Depot team running it this
Yes,
year on the East Coast with like Gage Linville
yeah,
and those guys. So because I mean Gage has been crushing it in the Partzilla Arena Cross series lately.
yeah. Like I don't love all of their designs, and I have an eyebrow raised a little bit on some of the durability because I've seen some pants that look like they're wearing through. But I'm also watching athletes that spend hundreds of hours on their dirt bike every year, so
Right.
who's to know? Um, but yeah, Crockett Myers. Once upon a time, amateur threat, Suzuki.
Yeah, once upon a time, one of the kids coming up through the Suzuki program and amateurs, on mini bikes and stuff. And I think he got off mini bikes a year later than what he should have.
Mm.
Um, when we were talking about Preston Massiangelo earlier, that same year when I was shooting with him at Mini O's, Crockett Myers was on that same program. And I was shooting with Crockett, and he was definitely a little bit taller on a super mini, even, a punched out 85 Suzuki. And I think he got off that thing a year later than what he should have, got off mini bikes a year later than he should have. And yeah, it just never, for whatever reason, he never got that break to get, a good, even, semi support ride. Not sure why, but I think, I mean, the kid looks good on a motorcycle. He's got that real
Hmm.
smooth, flowy style. And yeah, he's buddies with Levi Kitchen.
Yeah.
He rides with him all the time. I'm sure they go on training rides and stuff like that. So I'd like to see him make that next step. But yeah, to your point, him being back on a Suzuki, maybe, as far as just a mental confidence thing, just familiarity, that could help him a little bit, but that's only going to get him so far because unfortunately it is Suzuki. And I mean, the bike's good on its face, but for the casual rider, not for racing 250 Supercross.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And like um one thing that sort of like jumps out to me is just how much if you like sort of have been following Crockett Myers over the say the last I don't know um like what was this posted October is 2019 on 2019 he's on Super Mini he's on KTM Super Minis. Less than a year later, he's on an EBR 125. He goes from EBR 125 to NSA Yamaha, NSA Yamaha to riding like privateer KTM's. And then he spent that 1 year. I don't know if you remember, but he was in Arena Cross, and like one day he's on a Kawasaki.
Mhm.
2 weeks later, he's on a Husqvarna 350. Um, like it has been nonstop instability. I think he got like a fill-in ride with Gizmo Mods a couple summers ago. Um, like this kid hasn't had a place where he's able to put his luggage for a while. Um, and the fact that if he's on like some sort of a stable thing for 2026, that might be the best thing for him. Lots of style, some speed, like you said, the Suzuki's probably not going to like just rip hole shots left, right, and center, but Can we get some stability in this kid's life? Crockett Myers. That's all I can really say. I think he's capable of some really good things. I think he just needs to be doing the same thing for like eight months in a row.
Yeah, I mean, if he put this program together himself and decided I'm riding Suzuki's, then that's already a step above what, probably on the mental side of things, what he's been doing as far as, you know, the stability part and just saying,
Yeah.
all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be confident in that decision, good or bad. I'm going to be happy with that. So maybe that's just him taking the lead on what's going on instead of just, going here, going there, going every which way but up. You know, maybe this is what does it just for the fact that he's making that decision himself. He's like, all right, I figured out what I've been doing wrong all these years. I'm going to do as much as I can on with this program, with this motorcycle, and we're just going to run it. And maybe that helps this year.
Yeah. It very well could. I think yeah, some stability in Crockett Myers' life can only help. Um, let's go straight into a team that I've been kind of like champing at the bit to talk about, rolling into the 250 West Series, and that's AEO KTM. This is a team that has been gaining momentum over the last number of years. The team always looks correct. Their pit presence is always on point, and they're really starting to gather some talent to where they can make some serious swings inside that top 10. I guess their flagship rider for this year is going to be Carson Mumford, but Avery Long is no slouch in his own right. Tell me what you know about the AEO program. Everything from the outside looking in looks like first class all the way. Looks like a great program to be a part of, and I think that speaks good things for both Long and Mumford.
Compared to where they started a handful of years ago with that program, they've definitely improved over the last handful of years and definitely getting more and more help each year from KTM has certainly improved their situation to get these more high caliber guys to be like, hey, this isn't just a second rate team. This is a team that I can build with. And, Carson's kind of had a screwing essentially for the last handful of years since he was part of that Geico amateur program coming up through the ranks. And right as he was about to make his pro career start is when everything went to shit and the team folded for him. And
Yeah, no,
he's been
injuries and
playing.
mismanagement has been the story of Carson Mumford.
Yeah. And he's just been playing the catch up game ever since. But I like him on this program and he's fast. I mean, we saw that last year with that quad lock Honda team. The kid's fast. I think his fitness was a little bit in question because he'd start up front and then fade. And either whether that was a fitness thing or a confidence thing, whatever. But I like him on this program. He looks good. And I think this is where it finally like clicks for him to be like, okay, if I can get some consistent top fives this year and put my name in that conversation, then maybe going into 2027, I get phone calls from the Star Yamahas, from the Monster Kawasaki's, from those teams, and give himself 1 to 2 more years of getting a shot at possibly a title because that's the roadmap that he was on super minis and stuff, and then the rug got pulled out from under him.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I really think that this is a great opportunity for both Mumford and Long. I expect top tens out of both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Avery, for being on a brand new motorcycle compared to what he had been on the last few years, in amateurs, it was a brand new bike coming completely fresh into Supercross. He didn't have great results doing the Futures program, the SMX Next program,
Yeah.
and he did enough, which was basically showing up. And that's not a slight on him, but that's basically what you need to do as far as just being allowed to compete in SMX Next to get your points so you can run Supercross in the 250 class. But no, Avery, all those things considered, had great rides last year. He had some of those crashes that really held him back, but his ceiling's higher than what a lot of people think. And I think now with a solid off season and he's on the same program that he was on last year, I think that is going to help him make that next step and definitely put himself. He already got top tens in Supercross. He got a few top tens in outdoors, which is even harder in the 250 class without a factory bike. And he did that. So I think with all that, he could put in some 7, 8 position, finishes, and maybe even a top 5 squeak in there on the right day with maybe some crashes or, definitely a good start. But no, I like Avery, and I think with him having a full season of running the gambit and figuring out, okay, here's what I did wrong, here's what I did right, let's fix this and carry it into 2026.
No, couldn't agree more. I think there is some bright things on the horizon for both those guys. Let's talk a little bit about the next rider on my list, which happens to be the Club MX team. We have Yoder, we have Voland. We're dealing with the opposite end of the alphabet when it comes to last names. Yoder, Voland, no, pretty good 1-2 punch. If you're gonna sit here and say that Carson Mumford got screwed by things ending over at Geico Honda, then what the fuck happened to Hunter Yoder? Because that kid has been in an absolute spin cycle ever since he turned pro.
Yeah, this, he was in B class when
Yes.
everything went sideways at Geico Honda, and the whole team lost the entire
Yeah.
funding, or most of the funding, to do that, and he was right in that pipeline. Same thing with Carson. But yeah, so he's been on Partzilla, he's been on, I can't remember who else he's even been with, but no, I like this for him. And between Brandon and Mike, those guys definitely know how to work with talent. And now that they've got Blair over there and Chad, helping out with rider development and stuff, I think that whole setup is the best chance in the world for not only, Hunter, but for the entire team to actually get a win this year. And I don't know if it's going to come on the West, but definitely I think on the East, they've got a really good shot at it to get a win this year and get that team its first ever 250 Supercross win. But as far as the West Coast and starting this weekend, I expect Yoder to do better than what he's been doing. I expect him to have a little bit more consistency this year, because that's something that he hasn't really had. He's just been one of those guys that you just don't really notice, unfortunately. But him being on the Yamaha now compared to the Kawasaki that he was on the last year or two, I think is definitely a huge improvement. The videos that I've seen from Club down there in South Carolina, I think he's been looking good. And then as far as Max goes, his biggest Achilles heel is the fact that he can't feel anything in his right foot. So he's
A
using that
literal
handbrake.
Achilles heel.
Right, exactly. But he got a podium last year with that, and he's had a solid off season from everything that I've seen. And he ought to be mixing it up for podiums, whether he's 4th or 5th every weekend. If he's 4th or 5th every weekend, but he's in the fight, that's good. That'll eventually end up to a podium or two during the season.
Yeah, no, I think that those guys are going to make a statement. They're going to be a thorn in the side of anybody who's looking for a position on the podium. In fact, I think I could see both of them getting a podium this year. Quickly, we'll gloss over. I don't mean to gloss over, but there's only one rider on the team for the 250 West, and that's Jack Chambers for the Partzilla Kawasaki team. Team's been around for got to be 10 years plus already. Like there's at times some instability seeming so over there on the Partzilla Kawasaki, but they keep showing up and they keep getting riders who want to be part of that program. And this year it's Jack Chambers. What are your expectations from Jack?
I expect a lot more out of him, and he had flashes in 2025, and he was consistently putting into the mains. I think he only missed maybe 2, possibly 3. I think he still missed mains. I could be wrong. He might, if he made all of them, then my apologies, Jack.
Mm.
But with his program that he has this year, the whole PRMX team, the whole Partzilla team is down in Florida. the 450 guys, Mitch Harrison, Cade Clayson, those guys are all down in Florida. They're riding with Chase Sexton. So I think that is definitely a huge positive for leveling everybody up this year. So Jack ought to be consistently making it to the mains. He ought to be squeaking. He ought to be putting it into the top 10 a couple of times this year, in my opinion. If he's been on the program correctly, I'm hoping to get down there to his place. It's only an hour and a half or so from where I am right now in Florida, so I'm hoping to get down there and talk with him, do some video with him, and just figure out what's going on. But yeah, I expect him to really level it up this year and maybe even squeak a finish or two in the top 10.
I think you're totally right. I think multiple top tens for Jack Chambers in the 250 West would be a very, very good season for him. Let's go straight to some Yamahas, the Blue Crew guys. You got a big team with the Bar X guys showing up this weekend. You've got Schwartz. He's going to be fit. He's going to be fast. I think he's more of an outdoor guy. I think he would even admit that. But I do expect some good rides from Schwartz. You have Lux Turner, who I believe is racing this weekend. Like he had, I believe he did both wrists, if not at least
I
one.
think it was just the one arm that he did.
Okay, in Australia.
Yeah.
And then you got Parker Ross. That's not a 1-2 punch. That's a 1-2-3 punch. Swinging from the privateer ranks. Those three are great. I can't tell you anything about Leo Tucker, but the three other guys on Bar X Yamaha are going to make some noise, and if they get good starts, are going to be absolute fits for guys like Anstey, Mosman, the club guys. These guys are going to be contenders throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I mean, if that entire team, or if at least those three guys have a good night, if all three of those guys have a really solid night, I mean, there's a real possibility that the worst finisher out of that team, whoever it is out of those three guys, is a 12th. I mean, that's really, a possibility with those guys. I mean, Parker had such good rides last year. Dylan, man, his starts in outdoors last year on the 250 were insane, and his qualifying times were unreal. Like, that was nuts that Dylan was putting in those kind of rides. And then Lux was looking so good this offseason in the Australian Supercross series before that stupid ass net caught him. Like, that was, I'd be so pissed if I was him and the team, the whole CDR Yamaha team.
Big time.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a real possibility that all three of those guys are going to put in such good finishes that the low man out of those three is going to be just outside the top 10. And because, I mean, that program has definitely improved the last few years, and those three guys are definitely caliber riders.
Yeah, absolutely. With no disrespect meant to Leo Tucker, I have no info on you, so you might be lights out. But I'm gonna wait and see on Leo.
Yeah, he and Cole Timbo, yeah, like we just don't have
Oh
anything
yeah,
on them just because they've been
Timbo's
just
got
been
speed, and he was right. And you know that he's dedicated because he rode Suzuki's for a while.
right, exactly.
I got lots of time for Cole Timbo. Honda. Factory Honda. Found out today. Literally got a text massage from one Shane Drewski on Shane Drew, the 250 class crew chief over there at Honda HRC. Yeah, it's Hymas, and he'll be good to go for Supercross West. He's racing. Excited to see that. I'm excited to see Big Red. And they'll only have two guys under the truck. I believe they're still going to have two trucks, if I'm not mistaken. So all the focus over on the Honda side on Chance Hymas. You got to think that if he's racing, he's fully healthy. He's got over 6 months on that knee. I don't know that Supercross has always been his strength or his forte, but yeah, it's been within the last calendar year. Hymas has stood at the top step of the podium at a Supercross, muddy or not. He's got that trophy, and then he also won one at Colorado. And yeah, I think that means at the very least you got to respect the guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. I really kind of wish that they would have just kept him on East, just give him some more time to just get a solid base, and maybe his base is solid enough. I don't know. I mean, only Lars and those guys can determine that and chance, but um, I think like I just don't expect him to mix it up into that top three range, and that's only because of we keep getting the same thing for 3 years. He's fast. He'll get a moto win. He wins at Foxborough last year, and then he's immediately hurt. So we don't get anything solid out of him. We don't get a consistent run of like 5, 6 weeks out of him to really come up with a good sample to see, what he really is made of. And the fact that he's coming off yet another knee injury. And yeah, I mean, it's been what, April since he did it, March or April, late March, early April when he did the knee this year. It's still just another injury that he has to come back from. So, I mean, if he can string together multiple podiums, then I'd say it's a good breakout year for him. Even him getting that win in Foxborough last year, I wouldn't call 2025 a breakout year for him. So even if
Yeah.
he doesn't get a win this year, I'd say 4 podiums out of 10 races, I'd say would be a good year. And if he can back up the other 6 races with a fourth and a fifth, I'd say that's a really solid year for him.
That's absolutely a great solid year for him. I think he'd be able to hang his hat on that and move straight on to the great outdoors. Time to start talk about Star Racing Yamaha. We'll start off with Mosman and Anstie. Mosman, here's the thing about Michael Mosman. Michael Motorcycle is about the nicest guy that you'll ever meet in the pits at a motocross race, and that's saying something because moto people are good people. But yeah, there's something special going on with Eminem, Michael Mosman. He absolutely has the speed to run up front and lead lap. He will lead laps in this series. I guarantee it. But also, he has a propensity to harness the force of gravity and hit the ground like nobody's business. And you never know which Mosman you're going to get. With all due respect, he's one of the most talented guys out there. And like I said, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet on or off a motocross track. But yeah, he has the potential to lead laps or be completely nuclear.
Yeah, I mean, Michael's going to win heat races this year,
Yes.
and he's gonna be on the podium if he can keep it on 2 wheels. But I kind of put Michael underneath the, and this is no disrespect to Michael if he ever listens to this and be like, dude, what the hell? But I kind of put him into the Wile E. Coyote category, where it could
Yes.
be going wrong. The plan is there, the timing is there, and then the
He's Zach
dynamite
Bell.
just goes off.
Yeah.
And I hate that for him, but that crash that he had a few years ago just really derailed a lot of
Everything.
his progress. And, I mean, it was the same thing like Jeremy Martin years ago that put the brakes really hard on his career. Just I want him, like, I honestly didn't think we were going to see him back after that neck injury a few years ago. So the fact that he's been back, well, and then he came back, it lasted a race, and then he was out again. And then, he had a better 2025, but then it still ended abruptly. So I'm hoping he can at least just get through the season and put together, I mean, I'd say a fifth year end points would be great for him. He'll get a few podiums. I think, I'd say, a really ruddy race, a really soft race is something that plays into his hands where it would slow the track down, use a little bit more finesse, be a little bit more methodical on the racetrack. And I think that would be something that would put him a little bit farther into the conversation for a podium during the year. But yeah, just get through the season. That's what I want for him. But yeah, to your point, he is absolutely one of the nicest guys, the entire Mosman family. Josh,
Yes.
I mean, I've gotten to know Josh the
Both of
last
them.
year or so, and definitely great guys. And but the main thing, I want Josh to make it through the season healthy.
Yes. Keep her on 2 wheels. I could see a podium. Star Racing Yamaha. In fact, I could see all three of those guys on the podium if I'm just gonna go
Oh
ahead and
yeah, a
say it.
Yamaha sweep is not an outlandish statement
Not at
by any
all.
means.
That is not the hottest take on this podcast.
No way.
Max Anstey, won the first 2 rounds, or he won 1 or 2 rounds last year before busting himself up.
He definitely won one. He
Yeah, he won the
won.
opening round, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, was that? Yeah, that was the opener in Tampa, and
Yeah.
then he would have had the next round after that, wherever that was, Houston or Dallas or whatever,
Yeah.
when it was red flagged at the 11th hour, and that helped out Kitchen. And then he gets caught up in the first turn at Daytona, and then the East West races for him did not go well, and then it was what, Birmingham, when he got ejected himself off the bike and
Yeah.
broke his leg.
Broke his leg. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, he was the East champion after Daytona.
Yeah.
He would have been the East champion had it not been for that after, Levi Kitchen's exit.
Hmm.
Um, when I first saw that it was going to be Deegan and Anstey riding West, I'm like, man, my initial thought was, man, you got two title guys running West, but I'm like, what's the alternative here? You got three guys that are absolutely capable of winning titles. Obviously, two of them are going to be on one coast. And probably, after I thought about it a little bit more, I'm like, okay, it makes more sense to do Anstey with Deegan than it would have been to put Cole Davies with Deegan, because we saw what happened with that last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Anstey is, I say Anstey is the more consistent out of he and Deegan, but Deegan's got such speed, that's going to be something that Max needs to do. But as long as Max can get the starts, he's going to be a thorn in the side of Deegan, to where if Deegan tracks and Max is all over him, and Max could honestly win the 250 West title based off consistency.
Yeah, absolutely can. Yeah, we'll get to him next. Haiden Deegan absolutely has the ability to win races in this class. He's shown it. He's a champion on the other coast. Um,
Well, and
or
the
what-
and
no,
to
or do
Max's
does he have a number
Max's
one pace
credit,
on the West? He raced East last year.
who
East. Deegan raced East or West last year?
he raced West,
West. So he'll have the number one plate then.
right? Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
to
we do have a
Max's
returning
credit,
champion.
right? To
Anyone
Max's
who was
credit,
screaming at their television earlier, or they're at least screaming at their radio, I apologize.
yeah. And for Max, I mean, 2 years in a row he held the red plate, and
Yeah.
2024, that was not his fault. The bike blew up on him. That was not his fault. And then last year at Birmingham or whatever race that was his fault. That was just a bad mistake on his part, and it ruined his entire rest of 2025 because it didn't heal as fast as everyone thought it would have. He missed the entire outdoor series, and so he's basically starting over from scratch. But yeah, he's going to be. I'd say he's the biggest threat, just based off how 2025 is going. I'd say he's the biggest threat to Deegan for that title.
Fair enough. Well, we're gonna disagree a little bit later on. Let's talk Deegs here. He's clearly the returning champion, defending champ. He's going 450 outdoors. Um, I think he's fast. I think he's fit. And that's all the nice things I have to say about Haiden Deegan. I think he might be the worst role model that a young athlete can possibly have outside of his fitness and determination to win. I think he's dirty. I think he thinks about other people on the track more than himself at times, which is why he sometimes makes mistakes or is constantly looking behind him, which is a really punk move to do when you're racing. And anyone who associates themselves with an absolute clown like Jake Paul is, I have no respect for. So that's all I have to say about Haiden Deegan. Go ahead. No, seriously,
Uh,
I'm done with this. I don't care. He's
yeah,
not
I mean,
coming on the
he's
show. Um, like it's
as
just
far as
it's
the
the
race
theatrics.
goes,
This is not WWF or WWE or whatever it happens to be. I don't like anything about Haiden Deegan aside from how he rides a motorcycle, aside from the looking back thing. And obviously he's as fit and fast as you need to be to win championships, but that's where it ends with me.
yeah, I mean, as far as the racing goes, I mean, he's the odds-on favorite. I think he's going to
For
make
sure.
mistakes. How big those mistakes are is going to be the question. As far as the diplomatic side of things, to go off of your rant that you just had, I mean, the only thing I'll say is, in a nutshell, when you vacuum everything, there is no such thing as bad press. And whether you like it or not,
Oh, I know.
he is helping the
Doesn't it doesn't matter what
sport.
I think.
He's helping the exposure of the sport. And as long as we can get the other key players in the industry to help move the needle forward as far as getting more exposure, as far as television time and all that, I think that whole combination could actually put Supercross and motocross into the next level of where it ranks as far as mainstream sports. But yeah, I mean, Deegan is the favorite as far as back to the racing aspect. Deegan's the favorite. I think it's going to be he, Max, and Kitchen in some order of that each week on the podium.
Yes. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that. I think you got I think you got four guys who can win. I think you got Hymus, Anstey, Haiden, and Kitchen. That's your four guys who can look at this. And I guess now is the time we talk about Pro Circuit Kawasaki. I leave them for last because I have an admiration for Mitch Payton. I love the way he builds his program, and I think he is an extremely smart businessman, as well as his impact on the sport is damn near immeasurable. Great team, great bikes, and a couple of great athletes. I don't know who out there could not be a fan of a guy like Levi Kitchen, who was looking pretty damn good until he sent it to Indonesia at Daytona there. I think he was never the same after that. But with a long off season and a full bill of health, I think he can return to that. And if I'm not mistaken, last year was a complete wash for Cameron McAdoo, which is why we see him running the number 124.
Yeah, and we talked about this during the outdoor show that we did last summer.
Yep,
Levi's crash in Daytona should have ended up way worse than what it did for
absolutely.
him. That
Did
that
you
was
not see it
one of the
coming the
most.
lap prior though, too?
It was either going to happen or it wasn't. It was a 50-50 shot each lap that
Yeah.
he was doing that combination right there, and that was such high speed. I mean, that was the fastest part of the 2025 series right
Yeah,
there.
no, it
I mean,
looked
even
badass the
faster
way
than
he
out.
was like wheeling through that, but you could tell it kept throwing him really far forward. And I'm like, if he hits that wrong, like that is death.
Oh yeah,
Which
for sure. So I mean,
that's the
he's
job, but Jesus.
he's the big question mark for me just because of everything. Like he didn't have a great return. The only time where he really got himself into the conversation once he came back to racing was St. Louis SMX when he and Deegan got together and Deegan ended up going off the track. I mean, that was really the only time that Kitchen was actually in the conversation and not so much of a, what if or an afterthought. So I'm really looking to see what he's able to do, just if he can actually give Haiden a fight. And
Yeah.
if he can, great. Like we as fans want to see that. Moving on to Cameron, he's got to make something happen this year. He's at least got to finish the series in the top
Yes.
5 to keep a ride for
Yeah.
next year. And I hate that he's had the career that he's had. I mean, good, bad, or ugly. Just I like Cameron. I've known him since he was on when he was the fill-in. Actually, I don't even know if he was the fill-in guy at Geico yet when I first met him. And
Okay.
yeah, I think he was getting help from Genova. And
Right. 'Cause that's where it started with him.
right, exactly. And I met him at club on a weekend after a GNCC, or a week after a GNCC. And I've known him since. And he's such a good kid. He works hard, but he's got some of the most vicious crashes that it should have left him way more hurt than it has in his
Like the one
career.
last year in the whoops was nuts. Like he was crashing for like an hour.
Yeah. And that
And
still
then he
wasn't
just
as
laid
bad
out
as
on the
it.
track.
Well, and that still wasn't as bad as the couple years before in Atlanta when he compressed himself into the tunnel jump.
Oh yeah, the tunnel jump when he
The,
had the
the one that's
visor
the one that's
down, his
made
arms were in
highlights
the
ever
air.
since.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I just want him to finish the season, get into the top 5 consistently, and just have that base and actually get to the third round of outdoors, because I don't know if he's done that in 7 years.
I think the last time he raced that many outdoors, he was a fill-in at TLD.
Yeah, on KTM's.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean
Like
that's how long ago that's been.
it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I'm sure he's raced some other outdoors, but I'm kind of just being trying to be a little bit funny here. My attempts at comedy often fall flat on their face. Um, but yeah, I guess now is the time that we weigh in as far as championship contenders.
Well, there's one
Um,
guy on your list. There's one guy that you don't actually have. You didn't put on your list, and I'm glad
is
that
it
I caught it at least.
is
You
it
said
DeFrancisco?
it is
Boom!
DeFrancisco.
I was about like
Because you
I was like,
said
are
because you
we
said
gonna?
four guys.
Yeah,
You said four guys that could win. I'm gonna
you
say five. I'm gonna add Ryder D into that mix.
okay? What do you? I agree with you. Five guys can win, especially if he shows the kind of speed that he seemed to have at the beginning of last year. What do you think about Husky going to One Industries gear?
I'm glad to see One Industries back, because you remember back,
Of
what,
course,
10, 15 years ago,
the
they
Trooper
had
helmet.
some
Oh
really
yeah.
good looking gear. They had Dungy in it at one point. It was such a good look.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them back, and them not that team not being with Fly is one domino of the puzzle that's going to continue on even after this year, as far as how that team is going to look going into 2027. There's going to be some definite shifts in the overall look of that team after this season, um, even more so than the gear. But I like seeing One Industries back. I need to see that gear on the track under the lights, the snow leopard gear that
The
they just
snow
unveiled.
leopard
I need to
stuff looks
see
like
that.
pajamas.
I
It's a little bit like
I don't
pajamas.
know. I don't know if it's the gear itself or the fur coat over top of that gear that Juju was wearing. And nothing against Juju, and I mean that kid's all about
Oh,
style,
yeah.
but
And eating
and
soup
I do
probably.
not want to be shitting all over One Industries by any means, and I'm absolutely
No,
glad they're back in the sport.
I love it.
But they're gonna have some, since they're back and since they're fresh, and now with a factory team instead of just one guy, I see them coming out with some definitely off the wall designs this year throughout the 2026 season.
I could absolutely see that. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see that. I think that um, having Ryder D out there on a regular basis all season long, I think this is maybe the 15th time that we've said stay healthy all year long. This is the 250 class, and we're still talking about Supercross, so nothing is guaranteed. But yeah,
Well,
no,
and Ryder's injury that he had after what,
that was a
round
bad
two or
leg,
three
right?
last year, and that wasn't his fault.
No.
That was absolutely not his fault. So that was a season robbed from him
Yes.
by no doing of his own. So I
Same
think
same deal for McAdoo if that's if like we're talking about that.
I think yeah, you're right. I think if the bike stays together, and I think it's, I mean, we all saw it at Vegas SMX right up until he got his head used as a bike stand.
Mm,
I think he that was the rider D that we were expecting ever since he came out of amateurs.
yeah. No, yeah, I think you're totally right. I like we've been sort of waiting on that, and it's crazy sometimes you think about the guys who get compared to or are rivals in amateurs, and then they go pro and their careers go two very different ways, and that can be because of different teams that they're on, or instability, or injuries, or a combination of all those things. Um, Yeah, I would love to see a good season from Ryder DeFrancisco. He was a lot of fun to watch in amateurs, and he's an extra wrinkle that if he's good on top of the series, if he's good on top of all the talent that we have in this series, we are in for some serious barn burners.
Yeah, I mean, we say five winners. I say there's about eight guys that could be on the podium at any point during the season.
Yes, which also means that at any one weekend, there is no less than five guys who are leaving the pits pissed off.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is maybe the best part. It lights the fire into these boys, and then they get to fight it out under the lights. I forced you to go first on our 450 prediction for the championship. So I'll take the stage here for the 2026 West Supercross Championship. I'm going with my title favorite is none other than Levi Kitchen. I think he's going to be really strong this year. I think he's finally going to get that done and get himself a 250 Supercross Championship. Um, Second spot, I don't think you can go wrong with Max Anstey. I think he's going to be extremely fast all season long. I think he's going to be calculated, and that veteran presence is going to be the difference of him taking home this championship. And then the third spot, I'm going to have your defending champion, Haiden Deegan. I think he's going to lead laps. I think he's going to win races. But I think his focus is on the 450 class, and that might be what sort of brings up some mishaps or some miscalculations throughout his season that makes it a little bit more difficult for him to be a repeat champion in that class.
So I'm gonna go a little bit different. I do
Feel
agree with
free.
you. I don't know if I see Haiden defending, not because of his talent, but I think just like you said, I think it's going to be just mentally. I think it's going to be different. Not that he's not mentally ready. I think he's going to be looking at things during the races a little bit differently. So I'm going to go Max Anstey as your champion for 2026. I will put Haiden in the number 2 spot. And then I'm going to go a little bit crazy here. And I'll say Ryder D as your number 3 ride for the year. I think I'm really expecting him to, put that flash together consistently. And I know I'm sure a lot of the listeners are going to be like, "Are you freaking nuts?" But
They might
I
think
think
that.
I think the year that he
Both my
started to
listeners are
put
going to think you're
together.
nuts.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I've had dumber takes. I'm positive, but I'd say that with the year that he was starting to put together before the bike malfunction, and then the rides that he was putting together in the SMX playoffs last year, I'd say that was definitely a good momentum builder for him. And then just switching over to the Husky this year, the program that he's on, he's at Baker's factory where he was in California last year. I'd say that whole combination, I think, elevates his progress this year. So I'm going to put him as a top 3 guy at year's end.
There you go. That's the one that sort of jumps off the page at us. Ryder D, predicted to be a podium in the top 3 in the championship points when the 250 West is done. We're gonna at least find out how these guys kick things off this weekend coming up in Anaheim. I will not be in attendance. Kyle, I assume you will not be as well.
Nope, I'm not going to be there. I got a call a day or two ago asking if I was going to be there. And no, it just doesn't financially add up for me to be out there. And you've been
Oh,
to you've been to one A1, you've been to all of them. It just the riders the names change, and that's really all it is. But now I'm ready to see some racing back here. I'm ready for Daytona, Nashville, maybe St. Louis. So I'm ready to see some racing out here on the East Coast.
I will see you at St. Louis, my friend. You have yourself an amazing evening. What say we give our thoughts on the first few races after the first few are in the books? Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
We'll reconvene after round 3. We'll welcome none other than Kyle Wolfe onto the podcast. Kyle, thank you so much for making the time.
Yep. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? We totally forgot to talk about Deacon Deno. I don't know how it slipped past us, but we didn't even mention Triumph, of course. I would have expected that you would have had, well, either Jalek Swoll or Austin Forkner racing on the 250 side of things on the West. They both started on the West at certain points in their career that they've been in the 250 class. Swoll is going to be on the East Coast, and Faulkner is going to be in the 450 class. So that means they're going to be bringing up Deacon Deno, who was the big winner at Loretta Lynn's this last year aboard his KTM. I believe he signed his at least letter of intent to sign with Triumph at Loretta Lynn's. I believe he was meeting with Jeremy Coker with the family and everything when getting together, and that certainly seemed the way that was going, and it certainly has ended up being true. And I think that's a great place for Deacon. I'm a little bit, I wouldn't say skeptical, but I'm a little bit worried about him getting kind of thrown to the wolves a little bit. I would like to hope that this season comes with a lot of sort of bated breath and not a lot of expectation on a young man who is basically just making his first pro race in Supercross, which you don't see very often anymore. So looking forward to seeing what Deacon Deno can do on the West Coast Supercross. I think he's going to have good rides. I think he's going to have some challenging moments as well, and hopefully he's able to come through the entire season healthy. High water mark. I think if Deacon can come out of the week of the season, if he can get a fifth, if he can come out of the weekend, the entire series with a fifth place finish somewhere in there, I would chalk that one up as a W. I'm thinking he's not thinking that. I'm sure he sets the bar for himself a lot higher than it is, or than I'm saying that I'm placing it at. But I think a fifth place for Deacon Deno in this championship with this roster and how deep the class is, yeah, I think a fifth would be a great ride from him, especially him like basically his first official race for the team will be a pro supercross race. Anaheim 1 this Saturday. So let us know what you guys think in the comments. If we had some bad takes, if we had some good takes, if we made you laugh, really appreciate everyone who takes the time to watch these videos. We'll catch you at the next one. Cheers.